Hey, kia ora koutou whānau. Welcome back to another edition of Big Hero News. Kia ora, Chewy.
Kia ora, Pat.
Doing
How
well,
are we
my
doing
friend?
today?
I'm doing very well.
Not too bad.
Well.
Brilliant day here in Dunedin.
End of sentence. Was that the end of sentence?
That's it. The full and complete sentence doesn't need elaborating. Just good.
I spent a good portion of today cruising around Dunedin in my car, delivering T-shirts and hoodies. Actually, that's what I did. Dropped off to a half dozen people, T-shirts and hoodies. It was a good time. Now, very quickly, Debbie Ngarewa-Packer is due to be with us at 9. She's not quite here yet. I'm sure she'll be here any minute. But we are looking to have a chat with her live, and when she pops up, we'll be able to interact with her. And if you guys have some specific questions, you can interact with her. But we've all organised it. I was texting with Debbie today, and it's all been set up, so we should have her momentarily. Any minute. Momentarily, we'll go with that as well. But before but before we do that, it'll give us a second to remind you guys, you beautiful, beautiful people, that this is the last night of the year for our current drip drop, which is a new name for our merch drop. Actually, thanks to the Māori Party, because everyone's been talking about Māori Party drip, so we're now calling it the drip drop. And you can get, of course, the #1 podcast in Swaziland, hoodies and T-shirts. You can get in hoodies and T-shirts for those with power equality feels like oppression. And those hoodies this month are in purple and tan. If you're a visitor to our fair shores of this podcast, we have a merch drop, a drip drop every month, and they have different colors in them. So this month is purple and tan. And also those are available in their equivalent T-shirts as well. And of course, the last chance ever for you to get an authentic limited edition original Beardy OB BHN hoodie or T-shirt. The next time we do a merch run, 2024, you will no longer be able to get original Beardy tops. This is literally the last night you'll be able to do that. I will be taking the website down completely by about 9 or 10 tomorrow morning, and then putting the last order through for the year. So if you're interested, it's bhnshop.nz. If it's the kind of thing you've been putting off for a while, bhnshop.nz, this is your last chance for the year to get in there, Chewy. So I spent, I don't know, maybe an hour today driving around several suburbs of Dunedin, dropping off merch to people. It was kind of fun. Didn't see anyone today, just dropped them off at the door and in the post box. Got a bit of a wave from someone down the back doing some gardening over by where the old stadium used to be. But that was about it. That was my day. What about you?
Just another work day. Watching the George Street makeover get very, very close to being finished.
Are they doing anything on George Street's the main street in Dunedin, for people who don't know, and it goes from the northern end of the CBD through to the Octagon, on the southern end of the Octagon through to South Dunedin is Princess Street. So George Street's kind of where all the malls and the clothes shops are, and yada yada, up to the Octagon. Are they dressing it up for Christmas?
They're putting the surface down.
Right.
It was supposed to be finished like a month or two ago, and it's dragged on a bit. So there's a lot of rush. Last weekend they did so much patchwork so we could have the Santa parade.
Right.
And at the moment it just feels like it's very close. Like they're putting in the last of the cobbles, the earth is going in the gardens, there's planting is happening. It's been a long year of putting up with roadworks in our main CBD. And a lot of bitching and moaning from the public, and a lot of people going, "Oh, it could be good," and we're starting to see it now, and it looks real good.
Yeah,
it looks real good.
No, it's awesome, eh? Yeah, and it was funny. We've said this before, and not to be too Dunedin centric, but all of the people who were going out for being mayor last time, they were all bitching about it, and all those same people were lovely at the cutting of the ribbons for bits and pieces. Now, all basking in the glory of stuff they bitched about for the 4 years previously, but. That's politicians on some level. Huge thanks to all our patrons. Love you guys to bits. Had someone on TikTok today say to me, have you guys got a Patreon? Do you guys got a Patreon? I'd like to support you. So there you go. We've got a Patreon. It's patreon.com/Big Hairy News. If you like what we do and you want to support what we do, you can jump on board and be a part of it. Now, we will do a meetup before Christmas, which is probably only one of the next 2 weekends, maybe even next weekend. And if you're a paying patron, then you'll be invited along to our virtual meetup. We do a virtual meetup, of course, because it's people from all over the country, actually, and around the world. Actually, the last time we did this, we had someone who was from Scotland, Scottish person from Scotland, not like an expat Kiwi, Scottish person from Scotland who jumped on and as a patron of what we do. So people from all over the world can jump on, and we do our virtual meetups, and we will do one more of those before Christmas. So if you'd like to be involved in that meetup, if you like what we do, patreon.com/Big Hairy Nutsacks. I mean,
you know what I got a real kick out of that, knowing that there's someone in Scotland following New Zealand politics through us, because I pay a lot of attention to what's going over in Scotland, with the referendums that they've had and their issues with Brexit and all of that sort of stuff. So it's kind of like you're looking at them, they're looking at us, sort of thing. Yeah, it was neat.
So what we'll do is, as I said, Debbie's due to be in. She's due to join in the conversation. I should probably check my emails as well, just to make sure nothing's come back at me. No, there's an order there, I think, from Stephanie. I'll look at that. But no, nothing back. So someone hasn't gone, I can't get into the thing. So we'll just wait. Obviously it was a huge day for all politicians today. First day in the debate chamber. And speaking of that, I'd love to show you something, Chewy. If you haven't seen this, I will know you will love this. You know how we reference the Queen, who often shows up on our show? We may have a king.
Oh.
Can I give you my nominee?
Go on then.
Yeah. Maybe. We may have a king.
It's proud to be a socialist. Kieran McAnulty. Yes.
So he was on fire.
I accept your nomination.
A lot of people were on fire in the house today, but he was on fire, and this 60-second clip had been going around Twitter. So everyone enjoy this.
Throughout the coalition agreement are things that will push Māori backwards. The reason this government wants to get rid of the Māori Health Authority is because of the first word in those 3 words. That's it, Māori. They know it works. It proves to work. They know that it's backed up by stats. They know it's backed up by evidence, but they don't like it because it focuses on Māori. Where's the talk of repealing the rural health strategy? That's what I want to know, Madam Speaker. Where's the talk of that? They won't do that because they know that rural people vote for them, and they know that Māori people don't, and they know that they can kick them, and I think it's bloody disgraceful. Fair pay agreements will help people's wages go up. It is proven. Their advice says so. It is the reason why our wages in New Zealand and Australia are so far apart. They don't care. They don't care because the people that back them don't want to pay higher wages.
Yes.
There you go. There you go.
That's what we've been saying. There's the fire.
So he was pretty much on fire.
There's the truth.
Oh, look, we're in a half. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry about the about what just happened there. I was texting with Debbie. She said she couldn't get on the link, so I've just sent her the link again straight to her phone. Hopefully she'll click on it, and we'll have her momentarily. Yeah. So he was on fire today. He was really good. Really good in the house. There were a lot of people on fire today. Once Debbie gets here, I was going to play some other clips. Damien O'Connor talking about what's happening in Gaza as a genocide. Marta Davis and the Greens and Debbie as well, all pretty much on fire for that topic in particular as well. Kieran is the rural king or just the king? Oh, thank you very much. But yeah, I had a couple of clips with Kieran today because he was also on breakfast this morning, and shall we fill in time for a bit?
Apparently, Kieran was on breakfast this morning, and it's a clip I haven't seen, so I assume it's good because we're going to play it. We don't play bad clips. I'm sure you've noticed that. Look, every time I see him fired up like that, the whole thing we've spoken about, like, is he a potential prime minister in the future? I want it to be. I want it to happen. I don't know if it is. I assume that Pat is going to come back to the show at some point. What I am enjoying is because they're back in the house and it is fire and it is people revved up for a change in the house. And it's unfortunate that it's played out the way that it has. But I mean, I think we can all recognize towards the end of the last government that everybody was kind of just a bit like spinning their wheels. We were asking for more. We were asking for more fire and passion and generally not getting it. It was more like sticking your finger in the dike and just stopping it.
Hi. All I heard from that was sticking your finger in a dike. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about. But,
I was just talking about how the end of the last, like we're seeing fire and passion out of our MPs and in the house, and it makes a pleasant change, as unfortunate as the reality of things are at the moment. But we didn't have that towards the end of the last government. It was more like just hold everything fucking together. Just if we don't move, nothing will go wrong.
I get a sense
rather
as well
than selling an aspiration or selling a vision that we had for New Zealand.
I get it.
Neither of them were doing it.
Yeah, I get a sense at the end of the last government, one of the things they were doing is the government, Labour, were trying to say, this is what we've done, beware of National, and National were just saying Labour sucks. So it doesn't feel like there was a competition of ideas going on. And I don't know if we've seen that yet, because what we saw today was just, but you're right about the passion. And again, I say it, I know I said it last night, if only, especially Chippy would have found this 6 months before the election rather than 6 days before the election, who knows what could have happened. But this is the result we've got, so we run with it. It's going to be interesting, eh? I'm interested as to see how it all pans out. Looking at what's happening in Gaza at the moment, there was some very passionate speeches today, and as I said, Damien O'Connell went a lot further than even Labour went with the words he was using, and the government called for action leading to a ceasefire. That's how I would interpret it, leading to a ceasefire rather than for a ceasefire in and of itself. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I heard the ding. Did you hear the ding, Chewy?
I heard a bing bong.
I heard the bing bong. That means co-leader of the Māori Party, Debbie Ngarewa-Packer, is with us. I'll just turn off that thing there so we can see Debbie nice and clearly. And we say, hello, Debbie. Welcome to the show.
Kia ora. I can't figure out where you are. I can hear you, but I'm in the car, sorry. But I can't quite figure out where I can...
Whatever you're touching down on the ground there, that's where the microphone is.
Found it.
Got it. We can hear you now.
Okay.
And now we can see you.
Yeah.
Just turn your phone sideways, then we'll get you in a nice angle as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it a bit angle?
That's the one.
I'm in Patia. I've just arrived.
Oh, nice. What are you doing in Patia?
Going home.
Oh, nice. So what, you've landed, when you're going to Patia, where do you land? Do you land in Hamilton? Do you land in Auckland? Where do you go?
I drive because we don't have an airport. Our closest airport's probably Palmerston North or New Plymouth. Oh my God, you boys are going to have to come here and get into the regions. This is where the real activists are. This is where they all live, in the regions.
Dunedin's only just a city. It's basically a big region in Dunedin.
Dunedin's pretty cool. Yeah.
We're saving up for a bus to have BHN on the road one day.
That'd be so cool. Yeah. Don't make it pink.
We're going to buy
or blue.
We're going to buy Counterspin's old bus.
Have you? Yeah, interesting, eh? How all those Hobson Pledges and Julian Batchers all quiet at the moment. Anyone notice?
Yeah, it was also interesting how the media is very quiet about ram raids. Apparently, all you had to do was elect National, then all the ram raids just go away. They just go away. It's no problems anymore.
I saw all the nutters, so that they're all quiet. I just like, honestly, it's just like they never existed because they got everything they wanted. That was such a great political campaign.
So tell us, first day of debates in the House, was it an exciting day, an energised day, a depressing day? How did you and the Māori Party feel about it?
Oh, we felt great because like we just mobilised thousands of people in 72 hours notice with, like, don't ever say Māori can't keep a secret. Honestly, thousands of our bloody families kept a secret. Can you believe that? So it was great. I mean, we just sort of said, hey, let's do this. It's on. So finally, when the government did tell us when things were going to start, we mobilised a whole lot of people, hoping more than 6 would turn up, and more than 6, and then got into the oath and rewrote the oath. And people don't like our annunciation of Prince Charles. Hari. I have no idea what their problem is.
We've just lost you a little bit there. We've lost your mic. Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, sorry. And so, we were brilliant day. Of course, it's just when you think Parliament can't get any lower, it got lower. Yeah. It got lower, like so low that you're just like, I mean, it's been a really great week for Te Pāti Māori, but honestly, just see some really desperate low-level politics, which sort of reminds me of a couple of iwi AGMs. But other than that, it's great.
Do you feel that, I mean, I know this is a big question to ask on day one, but is this 3 years going to be 3 years of resistance and fight and pushback and organise and protest?
Absolutely. It has to be. It has to be, It has to be, from our perspective, we can't, no one can sit quiet and let this degree of chaos going on, this sort of disband, disestablish, disconnect approach, the sort of shove the Māoris into the corner, and we don't want them to get healthy. We don't want them to have their own health solutions. We actually want to let them smoke more, and all these sorts of things are just backward. But in a good way though. I'm ever the optimist. I just keep thinking that maybe National's given his little side mates enough rope to hang themselves, and they probably won't last the 3 years. I don't know. I'm trying to be optimistic.
It is an interesting thought, though. I've said several times when we've been talking about the next years, we always do kind of say, assuming they'll stick together, because it seems that Luxon's getting a lot of flack at the moment for a whole bunch of controversial policies, but those controversial policies seem to mostly be coming from his partners, and he has to wear it because he's the boss, no matter where they come from. Now, I think someone in the House said, all you guys own each other. You own all of that side today from that side of the House. You can't get away from it. So whatever ACT wants, whatever New Zealand First wants, Luxon still has to own.
But this is a cycle, because remember in 2017, Labour got in with the same interrelationships. 2020, they didn't need that because they sold everyone that they're the solid ones. Their partners are a bit chaotic. And then, they did a 3-year term based on letting the polarized politicians with his Lincoln lapdog go and push all the things off that they're pushing, and then by the 3rd term they couldn't get back in. So I and the other side of it, I don't know, will there be many people left that support ACT? Will they be left in 3 years
because they're all old, you're saying?
No, I didn't say that. I'm just saying, will they be left? So I guess that's, I think that they had no choice. Thanks to the Māori Party or Te Pāti Māori, ACT got it. New Zealand First got in. But I keep sort of saying, their combined votes, these two minor parties, New Zealand First and ACT, make up less than the 20% of Māori not kicking on our allies in Pacifica that they've really pissed off. So, I think there'll be lots of resistance. I think there'll be lots of challenges. I think Te Pāti Māori's up for it. We'll continuously reinvigorate how we do it when we mobilise. They'll never know what's coming at them, which is what happened Monday. We completely took all the attention and media away from them. And I just, I think, Luxon's acting like a first term. He's acting like a first term Prime Minister and a second term MP. Everybody knows me here, so.
Here's a strange question for you, because you're obviously seeing Luxon as an amateur, which is what you just said. What advice would you give him if he was going to do a better job? I think all of us still want a successful government, even if we don't support them. We don't want the government to ruin our country. What advice, if you were to give him some advice over a beer, what would it be?
I probably wouldn't have a beer with him. But the reality is, I think any Prime Minister, especially one that's got such extremes that they've brought into government, have an obligation to look after those who didn't vote for them. Let's remember, there are 1 million people, what was it? A fifth of our population didn't vote.
Yeah.
Then there's a whole population who did vote, and there's Māori who voted. You look, absolutely unapologetically put Te Pāti Māori in all those electorate seats. If I wanted to be a long-term thinking Prime Minister, my advice, not that I think he'll ever ask it, is that, keep your circle, keep your council balanced. And even though you've got all these extreme policies, make sure you go out and see and hear and be involved in other kaupapa. But the reality is, we've watched them. He doesn't have a chance. I mean, every time he goes to ask a question or answer a question, Winston gets up and interjects and does like point of order. It's like Winston's doesn't even know how to let the Prime Minister answer his own questions because he's so used to being the man in charge. And I think when he was last time with Jacinda, she allowed him that space. Right. She allowed, as a younger woman, she sort of found that synergy with him as the older man, the uncle, which he hates being called. But you can't pull that off with another man, and with Chris Luxon, who's just desperately trying to pull through. Interesting though, and I will say this, there are MPs that are in cabinet, in national, that are working really hard to have relationships with us.
Mm-hmm. How come that's, why don't we not, look, we had this conversation last night, Debbie, and it's not our place to say this, but blowhards get on a podcast and they start bouncing all sorts of ideas around. And I had this thought that it kind of looks like, I know it's very early, but it kind of looks like this government has a toxic relationship with Māori. And if you start thinking about the idea of a relationship, be it a marriage, if it was a toxic relationship, at some stage, the person who is being abused in that relationship needs to get out of it. That's the only way for them to be safe. What are Māori going to do through this term? I've written down the word unchallenged. If this government was to stay in for these 3 years unchallenged, meaning they hold it together and they do whatever they want to do, what does that mean for Māori? Where is Māori going to be in 3 years from now?
Well, I mean, it's pretty simple. The Māori Health Authority wasn't put in there because everybody wanted to have a Māori Health Authority. It was put in there to address the fact that 150, 60 years of solutions of taxpayers' money wasn't being targeted and utilised the same way. And we continue to see Māori are dying 7 to 10 years earlier than non. And that's not because we have a death wish and we're always jumping off bridges and off parachutes. It's actually because we are not being met within the health system. We do not go and get referred to specialists. A whole lot of science and academia, medical science that I'm not the expert of, but believe. And then we've got smoking, which kills us 3 times more than anyone else. It's an avoidable death. These are all avoidable with proper solutions. So where we will likely be if there was no resistance is that there would be less real spoken. There would be less real opportunities for our tangata tiriti, who actually take it up more up here than our blinking Māori do. There will be worse health statistics. We will all be locked away. And because that's the only way to justice is to prison them way through justice. And I guess, we will be backwards. And because the solutions are very about self-managing and the final orders and all that, will likely not be able to cope with the clawback. We have education system. I'll be fair, I don't know the whole thing about charter schools, but I do know that could a kaupapa work. But, they're not putting anything into that thought as well. So we will be worse. We will be worse uneducated. We will be disproportionately unwell, dying. We'll be disproportionately displaced with loss of culture. It's a revolting thought, but that won't happen because name me a time when any government in this modern times has been able to repress or oppress Māori to that degree. And I keep looking, there's a reason why Māori is official language and not English, because we fought for it. Yeah. Nobody fought for English to become an official language. There's a reason why we have Māori television, real programs, because we fought for it. There's a reason why we have land settlements and tiriti claims, because we fought for it. So I don't think, and I'm just going to say, so we've been interviewed by BBC, CNN, Al Jazeera, ABC, names like DFG, names I don't know. There's so much international interest in what's happening here. I don't think it will happen, but we just can't, there'll be no resting.
It's nice you've been interviewed by all those places, and then you come to the real media and talk to us.
Yeah.
Save the best till last.
Absolutely.
Debbie, I was under the impression that Shane Jones was the saviour of the Reo and all of that.
It's really interesting because
it certainly sounds like he was the spokesperson for all Māori everywhere the other day.
Well, he didn't get a single Māori mandate.
Have I been misled?
I think, look, he's got wakapa ears, no doubt. I mean, in his day, he was even. I'm sure he was part of Tamatoa, one of the activism groups in his day. I don't know what went wrong between now and in his eve, but the reality is that there's lots of people with whakapapa in other parties, but they're not in parties that have the best of Māori in their hearts. And the other side of it, they're all representing parties that are way past where Māori proportionally are in age. 70% of our population under 40. None of them are following there. So he no doubt talks for his own whānau, but he didn't stand in a Māori seat. He hasn't got a large proportion of Māori. And when you look at it, he sort of keeps saying, "Oh, you Māoris, you only got 3-4%." And then, well, we're only targeting 20% of the population. You've got 80% of the population. What did you achieve? That's I don't. He doesn't speak for Māori. He doesn't speak for the proportion of population that we have. And if I look at my socials, he definitely doesn't have a large following in Māori, despite having an effort on TikTok, which is really tragic. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
I just have to say for myself that the Pāti Māori's results in the election, and especially that demonstration that, as you mentioned, you pulled together so quickly, has been a bright spot for me in this election. It's great to have what I see, like authenticity just rings through when you see it in people. And
do you mean fresh? Right, are we being too fresh?
Look, the we have about Te Pāti Māori drip in the chat is constant. But yeah, like we were saying last night with the opening of the house, is that you can take shots of the military brass bands and the pomp and just the traditions of a Westminster style government, and then you get our the New Zealand input, the Māori input into it, and you go, cool, now I know what country we're in. It's just good. Just keep doing what you're doing. It's not just Māori that are behind you. It's people that recognise that we are the New Zealand of the 1950s.
That's right. And our tangata tiriti, you know what? Our allies everywhere. I mean, I looked at one particular town and I was sort of like going, I couldn't see my cousins, but I could see all my mother's cousins. I think, where are you? Oh, one goes, I stepped in fire. Like, what? But our tangata tiriti who turn up, who get it, and who really are blessed. We love each other. I'm lucky because I'm my mother's Irish, my father's I'm comfortable in my tiriti bones. But the reality is, some haven't got that, and they are still supporting, giving their lane to us. It's just amazing. I sort of genuinely do feel sad that there is a population that is represented in these parties that make up government that don't get that richness. And I think, your life must be so sad, so boring. Like, I was at something this morning and everyone was talking. So it was Rarotongan, it was English, it was actually Nuan and Māori, all saying the same thing about this government and what we need to do together. It was beautiful. So, like I said yesterday, I thank the government for their complete nuttiness and hatred, because that's what brings us together. That's what brings us together, so.
Hey, Debbie, if you've got time, I've got 2 quick questions. You okay for a couple of minutes?
Yeah, of course.
The first one, I'm actually going to play a little bit from the house today, because I want to ask you about Te Pāti Māori and you personally when you are thinking about the situation in Gaza right now. So we're going to start this clip with Damien O'Connor. It's only about 60 seconds, but it finishes with you speaking. Lots of people in the chat, just so you know, talking about and wanting us to tell you how amazing you were in the house today, especially around Palestine.
So thank you.
Let's just play this, and then I'll get your thoughts. get your thoughts around here. That's from Spider. There you go.
A call to an end to this depravity, this genocide, this slaughter. That's what it is. And I call upon Israel, a nation that has been set up and seeks sympathy and support because of the Holocaust and the outrageous outcomes. I call on that nation to look at itself and to apply the same humanity to the people of Palestine.
The sentiment echoed by the Greens.
But it is intolerable and grotesque to suggest the actions of the Israeli government are self-defence. This is retaliation against civilians.
The entire party donning keffiyeh in support of Palestine.
Every 10 minutes, one of those kids, somebody's everything is killed in Gaza.
As did Te Pāti Māori's Debbie Ngarewa-Packer.
From the river to the sea, Palestine must be free.
As members gave passionate...
So lots of people wanted to pass on their thanks for the way you spoke today. Just while you're here, can you share anything with us from what's going on, what you guys are trying to do, how you guys are operating towards this, this world humanitarian crisis over there?
Oh, look, we have got everything. The same way that we mobilise our people in 72 hours, it's the same absolute access to every social, every influence, every influencer, every discussion, every kaupapa we go to, every time we're on TV, unless somebody's actually washed hers and hasn't brought it into mahi. But the reality is that we have an obligation to bring about not only an awareness. I mean, I just cannot imagine how those parents who are sharing their babies, how those family members who are sharing their wives, who are just let their rawness out of their grief for everyone to see. So they're relying and trusting on us. They're trusting on us to be their mouthpiece, to share in a way that they simply can't. So we have to keep pushing. And I've said this 100 times, I'll keep saying it, as a descendant of Pariaka, as a descendant of Taranaki, who some of my tupuna are in Dunedin and unmarked graves, we must push back against genocide, against colonisation, against apartheid, and just against this absolute violence that we're seeing, extremism of violence. So we all collectively have an obligation. And people keep saying to me, oh, you're just an opposition. What can you do in opposition? I don't know, ask Nelson Mandela, because he was the longest standing politician in opposition. Stop talking like that. You don't have to be in the cabinet and doing their business as usual, signing checks. This isn't money. I mean, it is for bloody US and that, but what it is about us carrying the load as humans and us reminding that at no stage are those warmongers and those anti-peace people okay. Today, I just share quickly, I was coming back from a kaupapa and was going on to precinct. I was parking my car up and got in the middle, actually, I was waving out to our Gaza, our Palestinian protesters, and had this absolute cuckoo come over from the protest with Brian Tamaki. Got all over my car, got on my grill, blindsided me, just really abusive, put the Israel flag, and so I couldn't move. Anyway, where I'm going with this is that our Palestinian whānau were able to de-escalate it, but I've been to Wellington, Ngamotu, Wanganui, here in Patia, no protest have I ever seen for our Palestinian whānau has behaved like that. That is the aggression around those who are anti, free Palestine. So we have an obligation, whānau, whether you're political, whether you understand it or not, we have an obligation to make sure that this absolute atrocity is seen and we put pressure. And you can see it's working across the country for every other country except for here.
Yeah.
Every other country. I'm so ashamed of this government, but we don't give up. We've just got to keep pushing and pushing.
Hey, my last question, only because we've got you here, and I don't know when we'll get you again. It's just, speaking to the so-called referendum on the principles of the treaty, would love to get your thoughts on that. I mean, we all sort of know where you guys are sitting on that, but whilst we have you, to articulate sort of any specifics you want to tell us about that and how you guys are going to approach that, should it be something that goes to referendum? We're
going to approach it the same way we approached our campaign. We're just going to blindside them. We're going to push. We're going to use everything within our reach to make sure that the tiriti is protected, not for us today, for our mokopuna, all our mokopunas, not just tangata whenuas, but tangata tiritis, because it's something we should be proud to do, is look for a partnering, a peaceful, dignified Aotearoa. I think and I hope our views on this is known, what we have is this craziness that people think they can review and rewrite and referend te tiriti. It will never happen. I'm telling you, it will never happen. And this is just so, I've seen these threats before. We will have to be clever, but I keep reminding myself, we come from tupuna who would move the surveyors' pigs, who would cut down flagpoles, who are still famous for some of the clever things they did. We have to continuously think like that until we wear them down. The other side of it is the Māori economy is extremely powerful in Aotearoa. At the moment, you're seeing the activists. When the Māori corporate entities cross the line and together we're all there, I just don't think that this country is up for it. I really don't think if National wants to have a second term, they'll let it go. David Seymour's like a little boy. He's like Shane Jones and Winston remind me of those two Muppets. Those two cuckoos that are in the Muppets, so they talk to each other. David Seymour's like a little boy in the, Charlie Wonka's, chocolate factory. So like he's so excited. He's like so gloating and full of himself. But the reality is, I don't think they're up for what will come. They could barely handle what we did on Monday in 5 minutes notice. Yeah. So, yeah. And
now you've got the Māori King talking about a hui for unity. It's going to just explode from there.
The Māori Kingitanga, don't forget, the Māori Kingitanga has gone to Ratana. He has gone to, Parihaka. He has gone to Tuwharetoa. Those are lineage that we all, when you've got like that, my Irish nan, when she told us to move, we were all like, it doesn't matter whether you've been to any kaupapa with them for 100 years. When they call together like that, we all move. So 20th of January, we're all moving. And I think this government's been very short-minded. But I think they're going to sidestep it. Let their little Muppets, the two cuckoos and the Muppets and the other one and the lolly shop, take the blame. And we'll just keep targeting it. So it's going to be really interesting. Like I said, I thank them for this craziness because they've really helped us to unify and show what Aotearoa really looks like in the future. But it's going to be messy, that's all.
It sounds like you're kind of saying you need to be uncomfortable to find that place to push back on. If everyone's comfortable and everyone's happy and everyone's well fed, then everyone just sits around. But if you've got a reason to push back, then that's when you see the true nature of the person.
Yeah. You know what's frustrating is 2.2 million people are living off less than 30,000 a year. We've got so many homeless. We've done nothing for the students, the workers, the unions. I saw PSA. The unions are even backing us on what's going on. I just keep thinking, God, imagine if we had a government just said, we just said that for the campaign. Now we really want to progress and look after our young, look after those who are struggling, deal with poverty. But no, instead, what do? Smoke more so we can get tax breaks for our rich mates.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Hey,
and they got the Fossil of the Day award. Did you see that? They got the Fossil of the Day award. I thought,
yes, for COP28. Yeah.
Just change my name.
I've got one question. Any early predictions for Waitangi?
Oh, bring Waitangi. So our first week politically is at Ratana. So the 20th of January, so watch these dates, whānau. The 20th of January, we all move together as the karanga of the Kingitanga to discuss this kaupapa. It's really, really smart because then the Māori of that kaupapa goes on to Ratana. So we all turn up at Ratana between the 23rd and 25th. And then that is mobilised for about a week and a half later up at Waitangi. All those kaupapa at some stage, most of the political parties turn up. Even David Seymour turned up at last Waitangi. So I really, really think it's going to be something that a lot of Aotearoa will stand up. But the world is watching us right now. And yeah, I really, really think, like I said to the Prime Minister yesterday, you're at the start of your Prime Minister career. These others, those two in the Muppet Show, they're at the eve of their political career. They've got nothing left to do. They don't care. They're on their way out. They're in the cigar bar or whatever those places are called. So I really can't wait to see what Te Ao Māori dishes out in the first 2 months of next year.
Hey, Debbie, thanks so much for joining us tonight. We appreciate you giving us some time on the way through. And anytime, that's the same sort of thing. Like, we want to know what's happening next year. We want to follow it. We want to amplify it as much as we can.
Well, just yell out. I always watch your guys' show, so just yell out.
Thank you.
All right, dude. Drive safe.
Thank you. Ka kite.
Talk to you soon. See you later.
Cheers, Debbie.
Watches the
that
show.
was great. That was great.
Watches the show. Ooh, ooh, ooh. It's kind of cool. I know some people kind of message through questions. I tried to, and on especially super chats, we tried to squeeze them in there while we could. Obviously, Debbie was in the car. She was traveling. We didn't want to keep her for any longer, but let's bring up some now. Spider-Hoof, I know this was sort of put up, but we'll put up again to respect and thank you, Spider-Hoof, for the $10 super chat. Make sure you tell Deb, which we did. Her speech today about Palestine was amazing. Kat, ko tangata tiriti aho. Toitu ti tiriti. My pronunciation is probably appalling on that. I try and always look at Māori being phonetic. That's one of the things I love about writing down Māori people's names, because once they say it, you go, oh, I know how to spell that. So I don't know how good or bad that was, but I give it a crack. That's what matters. Henry Adams says, just want to say big ups to Debbie and Te Pāti Māori as a tangata tiriti. Love your mahi. I heard, I watched a YouTube clip today, and it was, things that have changed my life since living in New Zealand. And it was an English guy who'd been living here for 4 years. And one of the things he talked about was the language. And one of the things he said as someone who's been here for 4 years was he loves how the Māori language is interspersed to the English. We have our own English dialect almost. Like everyone says mahi, everyone says kia ora, everyone says ngā mihi. It's just part of our language, even though it's Māori. And I mean, there's a perfect example for it. What have we got in there? Te Pāti Māori, tangata tiriti, and mahi. Just interspersed in between. There's one more. I heard you take a breath, but there's one more. Spider again. Thank you for the $10 super chat. Te tiriti is for all of us, because you can't have Kiwi without the word iwi. We're all behind you, Deb. Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't quite pass it on to her, but I'm sure she knew that from what you guys have been like. All right. Alrighty.
I am loving that there's more recognition. You know, it's not just Pākehā. The tangata tiriti is becoming more recognized as a term. I love that, because that's the whole reason that we're here, right? And talking about how languages develop and dialects and that sort of thing, that is something that I have a huge interest in. I just find it interesting that you can have somewhere, say, the size of England, and you have so many regional dialects and accents and that sort of thing, and you look back at the history and what people's brought what to which place and how long it took to develop and that sort of thing. And then you look at such a young country as New Zealand, and you look at the regional accents that we have now, and we look at the intermingling of English and te reo and that sort of thing, and it is something that is uniquely ours. And I think that whole thing of where else in the world do you find these things? Nowhere else. It means it's rare and it's valuable, and I just love that stuff. Absolutely love it. I think, oh God, I had a thought. Where did it go? It was my only one.
I think it went into my eye. Something went into my eye. Was it your thought?
Yeah, like I saw people in the chat as well, just reflecting on how happy they were that they voted for Te Pāti Māori. Look, I can speak for myself. It was a difficult choice. I voted Green in the end, but it was not an easy choice.
I did Political Compass, and I was Green, and Te Pāti Māori as my top two.
Yeah.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Oops, I don't think. Hang on, that's we've given our hand away. We've shown our hand to it. I don't think broadcasters are supposed to talk about where their votes were. Oops, sorry. We're supposed to nefariously push our agenda from the background. That's what we're supposed to do.
Secret. Big.
Did you see? I wore my favorite hat tonight for Debbie. I wore my favorite hat. It's my favorite cap. I wore it tonight. Sorry.
And look, I made a joke about Shane Jones, but look, I think the truth is that yesterday we talked about the Māori Language Act coming in 39 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think when you look at people like Winston, like Shane Jones and that sort of thing, they are speaking to a New Zealand that is gone now. And I think when you look at the parties like Pāti Māori, they're talking to a country that is yet to come.
Yeah, that's really good way. That's a really good way, bro. That's brilliant.
If they can mobilize those young people that turned out for their demonstration, if they can get them to the polls, if they can get their message out as effectively as they have been over the last couple of years,
yeah.
You know, I only see good things, and I'm glad that there's a party there with some fucking fight in them, because we are going to need it. we are going to need someone to follow.
No, I love it when we just chat and a real gem comes out. That's a real gem you just came up with, bro. Everyone should take note of that. And I think that the votes for the Greens and Te Pāti Māori are not just a vote for tomorrow, but they're a vote for today and tomorrow. They're a vote for travelling forward, whereas the other votes are a vote for, as you say. I mean, let's just be honest. It was literally National's slogan to get us back. So it was literally that.
Forward, always forward.
Now,
I don't think it's any surprise as well that Māori have an affinity for what's going. Oh, I remember my thought now. We were talking about Gaza.
Yep.
I had a conversation today with a customer. He had a particular problem in that he had run up a massive phone bill. And was wondering, what it was made of. So I looked it up, and it was international calls. And I said, "Where are you from?" And he goes, "I'm from Gaza. I'm trying to get hold of my family."
Wow.
And my heart fucking dropped, dude. Because I was looking at his phone at the time, and I saw all these calls that didn't go through.
Yeah, and not picked up, didn't go through. Wow.
Yeah. And it's one thing to look at the news and it's all, it's all dreadful and horrible, but it's all also kind of abstract at times. You watch the
over
news,
there,
it's just horrible things on the news. It's another thing to hear someone say, "I've been trying to get hold of family."
Yeah.
And you sit there and you go, "Well, I know the stats about Gaza. I know how many people are there, and I know how young they are." And just to look at this guy and go, "Fuck, man, I've got nothing. There's nothing in my experience, to even come close." What do you say?
I mean, we had that a little bit when we had on our alternate Jewish voices. And our guest Ian talks about every day she wakes up and texts and basically says, "Are you still alive? Are you still alive?" to her friends in Gaza. And you're right. It is that because it's over there, and you can look at the news and you can see the pictures and you can be shocked, which we all are, and you can be angry and offended and upset, but it's still over there. It's not a interpersonal daily thing for us, unless you're someone like you're speaking of who's been there. Look, and on the other side, I saw in the news tonight someone at a pro-Jewish rally. She was 18 and she was going back to be put into the IDF because that's what Jewish citizens have to do. And I feel for her as well. I mean, it's not her decision. It's all pretty messed up. And like normally, it's even a little bit like politics in general. It's always the little guy that gets fucked. It's always the worker who gets fucked when you're talking politics and that kind of stuff. In war, it's always the citizens and the civilians who get fucked. And it's just, it's like puppets up the top pulling their strings, citizens down the bottom, feeling the brunt of whatever's going on. It's just horrific.
I want to talk about the flip side of that I saw in a fucking TikTok that made me want to throw my phone across the room. So I'm having difficulty verbalizing this because it's so fucking disgusting. A sniper in a hide in a building overlooking a neighborhood over a gully or a park or something like that in Gaza, but big rifle sitting on a sandbag looking out over this thing. And the guy in the post had spray painted across the top of this little window that he was looking through, save the date. And he'd put a date on there because he'd proposed to his girlfriend. And that was how he was telling everyone.
Wow.
And coincidentally, I saw another two IDF soldiers get engaged, propose, whatever, in front of all of their comrades in the grounds of a destroyed school. And they were stoked at the next stage of their life. And I'm like, just the schism at what's going on. Who proposed to your girlfriend in front of a bombed school? What the fuck?
Well, we've all seen that footage of the guy of the IDF enforcer who was manhandling or looking after the reporter and came up to the camera and said, "We will raise Gaza to the ground." So, yeah. And look, I'm not playing both sides when I say that, but I just know that there are polls in Israel at the moment that 75% of them don't agree with what Netanyahu's doing. It's this geopolitical game between governments catches everybody out. In World War II, it wasn't the German people who were getting bombed by the British. It was also the British people who were getting bombed by the Germans. It's the citizens that always seem to be worse off. And then it's the soldiers as well. I mean, like even in those wars, and sure you know them better than me, once they did things like cleared off bodies off the ground at Gallipoli, and they got to know each other and see that the enemy on the other side was actually a human being who had a family, and I saw a picture of her girlfriend. There's stories to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but there's stories that after they have that kind of game of soccer in the middle of the ground for the next 5 to 10 days, they were shooting over the opposition's head on purpose because they were humans all of a sudden. And all of a sudden they realized, well, what are we as 18-year-old soldiers doing? That person's done nothing to me, and I'm not equating that to the IDF versus, Palestinian civilians. I'm just saying that it's this geopolitical war between countries catches up the innocents at the bottom is what I'm saying, Chewy.
The story that you're talking about had to be resolved by both sides swapping out the units in that sector.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
To make sure they start killing each other again.
Yeah, that was their solution to it. And I mean, this is why a big part of war fighting is the dehumanization. You're not fighting another person just like you. You're fighting the enemy. You're not killing someone. You're servicing the target, or it's all dehumanized because there've been studies. Most people don't want to obviously kill someone unless there's a good reason, and it's a lot of these geopolitical reasons aren't good enough reasons for your average person to pick up a gun and take some lives.
Yeah,
and this is why something like the Hamas attacks that kicked off this latest wave of bullshittery, that's why the things that we heard about it were so scandalous. Beheaded babies, that's dropped away because they can't prove it.
Yeah,
all of these horrible affronts to humanity were screamed loud and clear from the top because it would mobilize a response. It would let people off their self-imposed leashes, and that's what they wanted. It's when you talk about the comparison with the other big conflict, Ukraine, you don't generally have to do that because you're defending a homeland.
Right.
Russia has a completely different issue, is that they're not winning, and the reasons for what they're doing is not strong. So they had to come up with bullshit about Ukrainians all being Nazis and stuff like that. And this is what we see in Israel as well. Everyone in Gaza is Hamas. Everyone in Gaza wants to wipe out Israel. It's objectively not true, but they cannot have these people recognize themselves in Palestinians.
I'll tell you this as well. I made a decision tonight in that conversation, and I'm not going to play this game anymore of, talking about Palestinian people and having to go, oh, I don't mean Hamas. I think people who are trying to have peace in the region, and especially for the civilians in Gaza who are being bombed and killed in disproportionate, unbelievable numbers. And we talk about this a lot. So often you'll get a guest on the media, and if they are a quote unquote pro-Palestinian voice, they get forced to denounce Hamas. But if they are a quote unquote pro-Israeli voice, they never get forced to denounce Israel bombing apartment buildings. And I think I'm over that. And I thought about it as Debbie was speaking, and I thought about asking her, but we're not talking about Hamas here, are we? But I thought, no, fuck it. We don't. No one said we're for Hamas. And people like, Karen Plunkett, who was doing disgusting things on his Twitter feed at the moment, referring to people wearing, I always get the word wrong, the keffers. What are they called? Is it the kefir?
Yeah.
The kefir?
I've got one behind me here.
Basically saying if you wear that, you're dressing like a rapist, quote unquote rapist.
Right.
Yeah, completely. But I think what I actually made a decision during that conversation is that we are saying we want peace in the region. We are saying stop killing civilians. And at the moment, the civilians that are being killed are the Palestinians. We are pro saving lives of Palestinians. That doesn't mean we're pro Hamas. And I'm not going to overtly say that anymore. I don't need to. If someone hears that conversation tonight with Debbie and goes, "Oh, listen to them supporting Hamas," I'm like, "Oh well, fuck you. You don't want to have a conversation." We're not saying that, and I'm not saying this to kind of surreptitiously say that. I'm just saying I came to a decision that I don't feel the need to have to denounce Hamas by saying save the people in Palestine who are dying, and that's just happened tonight, and I'm gonna do that from now on.
I saw a TikTok that basically laid out exactly what you're talking about. It does not matter what the argument is. The answer is, I believe in human rights for Palestinians.
Yeah.
Oh, but what about? The answer is, I believe in human rights for Palestinians.
Yeah.
Oh, so what you're saying is this. What I'm saying is, I believe in human rights for Palestinians.
I'm anti all war
Hamas
crime.
doesn't come into it. Fuck them.
Yeah.
I don't care. I'm not talking about Hamas.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking about these kids that are getting bombed.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the IDF telling people, go south, you'll be safe, bombing them almost the entire way. And then they go, cool, we've achieved our targets for the north of Gaza. Now we move on to the south. Move to a smaller area. You'll be safe.
Yeah.
It's monstrous. We've been saying it since the start. It's fucking collective punishment.
Yep.
And the government of Israel cannot see the historical parallels. And as someone that studies history, it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy when we do not learn from the past.
Well,
it drives me especially crazy when it's a people that have been on the receiving end of it historically for centuries, and then they're doing it themselves.
Yep. And that's the point that Damien O'Connor made in the House today. He said, you guys went through this in the 30s and 40s, and now you're putting another group through it. So yeah, 100%. Hey, I'm not entirely sure what to do with the show now, because we
went on a whoo.
We've got some other stories. We've probably got some quite important stories as well, but we're getting up towards time. Chewy, I mean, my Fridays I basically have off. What do you want to do? Do you want to do a couple more, or do you want to wrap it up? Have you heard this one about Winston Peters? Winston Peters claiming credit for putting in 3 female prime ministers.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Okay, let's do that then.
Let's hear from what horseshit of Matua wound up this time.
Okay, so I can't think of a slick way to do this as a segue. So we're just going to wrap up. The thing that's cool about doing this is it's like tomorrow when I make clips, you'll see none of this. It'll just be the clips. So you won't know that we had this really clunky segue between these two stories that made no sense whatsoever. And it'll just start
on our producer, Pat.
And it'll just start like this. So Winston Peters said some really weird stuff today. Slick. And, I talked the other day and I got a lot of kickback for this on Twitter about, cognitive decline, just wondering out loud. But today he stated that he was responsible for 3 former female prime ministers being elected. And then when he was challenged on that, he claimed to have not said that literally minutes earlier. Let's have a look at old Winnie and what he's up to.
New Zealand's had 3 female prime ministers, and today Winston Peters claimed he was the man who got them there. The Deputy Prime Minister told an audience at Parliament, "In my career, I made 3 women Prime Minister."
Gross.
But he then later denied to News Hub he was taking credit for putting them in the top job. Political reporter Amelia Wade has more.
One of the things you'll love about this, Chewy, is the reaction from the audience. I'm not sure who he was speaking to, but there were younger people there, and the reason that I've called this, titled this Winston's really gross speech, is that's what the people were saying that were listening to it, who were there. It was really gross. Have a listen.
Winston Peters back in his happy place.
This is a very serious answer.
Back in the deputy chair and back in Parliament, shaping minds, turning a speech meant to be about the election into an opportunity to talk race relations, taking aim once more at what he calls the Māori elite.
That's the worst type of racist I know. You need my help to be equal.
Comparing equity to sexism.
Some of us find that as revolting, as women found chauvinist men behaving the same way. Get it, ladies?
And without a shred of...
How about the get it ladies as a slightly, it's like at the sports club. Thanks to the ladies out the back for making the sandwiches. It had that tone to it, pretty ugly.
And without a shred of irony, appearing to claim that 'twas Peters who maketh the women.
Oh, and by the way, in my career, I made 3 women Prime Minister.
You've
forgotten that?
One
of them let me down real bad, and the other one wasn't so good either.
Who is up to you, but Peters was there when Jenny Shipley took over, then she sacked him. Peters later supported Helen Clark in a confidence and supply deal, and most recently, Jacinda Ardern in coalition.
Really important, I think, to hear what he then said and how he stutters and stammers. When I said cognitive decline, I think he realized that this is even too far. I really do. And he actually doesn't make sense in his answer. I'm not actually accusing him of cognitive. I don't want to do that. But I think he realized if that was interpreted like lots of people interpreted it, even I pushed it a bit too far. I reckon this is what he said.
Some very bold claims as to his involvement in the making of specifically female prime ministers in this country.
A bold claim indeed.
I made 3 women Prime Minister.
Not that he'd stand by it moments later.
What I said, I was there when 3 females became or continued to be Prime Minister.
I was there. That's what he's claiming he said, or what he meant. I was there. And the stammering and the stuttering is particularly interesting. And he says 3. I actually tweeted it out. Female prime ministers or prime female ministers or something. Have a listen.
What I said, I was there when 3 females became
Prime
Minister.
Prime
because
females.
I didn't rule them out. I didn't take credit for it. And that's, again, your narrative.
It actually wasn't my narrative. That was what some people are in the audience just said.
Well, if you're going to use them as the authority, go and interview them.
Oh, we did.
Well, he was trying to pervade that he wasn't sexist whilst being sexist.
I lost the plot on that speech after about 5 minutes in. There's a lot of spitting.
Is it really gross?
Unhinged.
Can Winston Peters take credit for your prime ministership?
I don't know. That's a really odd question. What I'd say is the New Zealand people voted for change.
That change was on display as the switched sides warmed up their new seats during question time.
Does he stand by the policy to leave the door open to a referendum on Te Tiriti o Waitangi?
On what we have agreed as a government, that we will pursue a treaty principles bill to select committee, and that's as far as it will go.
And challenges about how far National's bedfellows will go.
Well, I've got news for Christopher Luxon. Your circus, your clowns. He is responsible from this day forward for every single one of the people on that side of the House.
I'm happy to offer the previous speaker my pocket square because he has a large dollop of sad sauce right there on his face.
Is there anything that Winston Peters can say that is aligned to...
Look, I just want to be quite clear. We are in a unique government.
A unique government, perhaps, but Peters playing a familiar role.
There you go, Joey. So he made them. That's the quote. And then he tried to back down straight away.
Who was that National MP that thought he was on a fucking Facebook comment thread?
He was the guy, I can't think of his name, but wasn't he the guy that they accused of being standover tactics? Remember that one in a select committee?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I think that's
yeah.
him. I think.
All right.
Not sure.
So bro needs to remember he's not on the internet anymore. I love it when Grant gets a tear on. Awesome.
Women, New Zealand over, how can you not be aware that Winston is your champion? I mean, look to your leader, Winston Peters, females of New Zealand.
There's only one way that Winston could have said that and it be grosser when he said, "Get it, ladies," as if he said, "Get it, girl." That would be worse.
Or if he had it done this at the same time.
Yeah. The finger snap, but the arthritis probably isn't letting him do it. I would also say he's probably harking back to a classic old saying: is that behind every good woman is a Winston.
Yeah.
Am I saying it right?
Oh, I don't think so.
I don't know if I'm.
Doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't feel good at all.
Let's have a look at some of the super chats that have come in. Thanks, guys. $5 from Anakihi. Tangata whenua is us Māori as the land. Is us Māori? As Māori, probably. As the land in the act of being. Tangata tiriti, therefore, could mean solidarity in the act of being / as an entity. Thanks for the $5 super chat. Kuki would like the mother of all revelations. I think that's what that means these days in the $2 super chat. Thank you for that. We appreciate that. JC says, speaking of history, Te Tiriti signed 1840, First New Zealand Parliament established 1854. But tell me again about how Parliament needs to have a say on the validity of the treaty. No treaty, no Parliament. Interesting.
Fair.
Nice perspective. Thank you very much, Sarita, for $3.49 super chat. You make sure when you super chat, if you've got a question or a comment, you put it in there. And Peter says we need new roads for Nationals parade of clown cars with a $5 super chat. I appreciate that.
Roads of national significance, and they're
all
just
right.
tiny little cars with Jerry Brownlee in them.
Should we do one more because it's our new king? We'll do one more.
Yeah, go on.
We'll do one more. So we're not going to do the Brooke. Let me say this, Brooke van Velden. I'll just give this to you super quick. I was going to play you a clip as well. We played this clip last week, and it was the clip where she was debating Chloe on breakfast, and she talked about what the Parliamentary Commissioner Simon Upton had said. Well, today the Parliamentary Commissioner Simon Upton said that Van Velden was incorrect and misleading when she said on TVNZ Breakfast Show that the Commissioner has concluded that the ban offshore exploration for gas and oil and gas would likely, quote, increase global emissions. Upton's letter notes a similar comment appearing in ACT's party energy policy. Despite the letter being sent last week, the claim was still on the party's website Thursday morning. I was going to show you that. I was going to show you the clip that we had last week, but she's basically lying for policy. And when Chloe said it does not say that, Chloe was correct. So as Chloe tends to be, she comes with receipts. She comes correct. All right. Breakfast this morning, Kieran McAnulty was with Christopher Bishop and asked the Bishop about opening a Parliament. To be honest, it was a bit blah, 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 blah. So then Jenny May went on to ask Kieran about the opening of Parliament as well. And I want you to watch out here for where Bishop laughs. Remember how last night in the show, when he was asked an awkward question, he laughed? The laugh appears to be, oh shit, what do I do here? Just watch where it comes up in this conversation. So this is Kieran talking about the opening of Parliament.
Yeah, I know, I'd agree with that. I came away from the reading of the speech from the throne just feeling totally uninspired and feeling a little bit depressed, if I'm honest with you. Just everything's getting pulled back. Māori are getting bashed. Workers are under the pump now, particularly with things like fair pay agreements going to get taken away. The measures that we've put in place that actually do work on climate change are going to get reversed. I agree with Chris Hipkins. There was no vision yesterday and things are going to go backwards. And so it was a bit deflating coming away from that speech. So no wonder they were fired up, because Chris Hipkins started that debate. He called them out on it, and I think it hit a nerve. So the Prime Minister felt like he had to give it back himself.
Yeah, Kieran brought it up, Chris. So what's the vision for Māori?
Yeah. You will love this, Chewy. Because this is one of those moments. No, you will love this where Kieran becomes the interviewer. Just chef's kiss coming.
And look, I think Kieran needs to cheer up a bit. I remember sitting at his spot 3 years ago, back in 2020, after we took a toweling at the 2020 election. And it's a rough day for the opposition. There's no doubt about it, because by definition you're swearing in a new government, and if you're not on the Treasury benches, you're out of it. So it's tough. But these guys need to cheer up a bit. We've got a positive, forward-looking agenda for the future. A lot of stuff in that speech. Particularly, in the space that I'm with.
Remember what the question was. What is it for Māori? What's the plan for Māori?
And actually now Kieran is as well. Housing. We've got a lot of work to do on housing, infrastructure, resource management reform. We're going to get back to basics in education, banning cell phones in schools. And look, we've got a very positive, forward-looking agenda, and just can't wait to get underway in that first 100 days. And, we're a week into it now, and already making progress.
Instead of commenting on my mood, maybe answer the question. You were asked about
Thank
what your vision is for Māori.
Well, we want all New Zealanders to succeed. Maori, non-Maori, Pacifica people, migrants to New Zealand. We want all New Zealanders to flourish. And Maori are our first peoples, and they're absolutely critical to this country.
Blah, 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 blah. Nothing to see here.
Well, you talk about cognitive decline.
There's There's one more clip we'll play you, and this is there was conversation of the Māori Kings unity hui, the unification hui, and let's just play this last little bit, and then we'll perhaps sign off for the night. Here we go.
You know, if you think back to the election campaign, New Zealand First, National Act, they all accused the government of causing division in New Zealand. Now we're starting to see it for real, and it's unnecessary, and it's potentially going to take us backwards. So for this proclamation to be made, calling for unity, is a tremendous show of leadership, but I think it should give pause for thought for the government to think, why has there been such a quick response and a harsh response to what they're proposing? It's because what they're proposing could cause damage to our society, and it needs to be called out.
There you go. Do we have a new king, just out of interest? Are we able to call that?
Fuck, he's good.
He's good.
No, I'm a big fan of Kieran. But yeah, this is what we need. Like, if the quality, sorry, it's a terrible word for what Chris Bishop did, but the quality of his answer, if that's what the government is going to bring, the quality of someone like Kieran or Chloe is just going to cut holes through whatever they've got.
Yeah. Yeah. Kieran just seems real sensible and down to earth, and he can just, this is the, and that tone, like I didn't cut him this time like I did last time we showed him talking about him waking up. But when he talks about, I was a bit depressed today, and I was like, oh, so you're still depressed now? That's kind of, but it's nice. It's just calm. It's like, he's like a deadly assassin who speaks to you in a really calm voice. And then Chloe comes in with the facts and figures and talks about the research, and she just topples it as well. They'll be a great team. How about that? How about in the future, we've got one of them being Prime Minister and then the other one being deputy from another party? Can I just say, Chewy, we're a bit concerned right now for you. It looks like you're looking at a fire. Is everything okay? It looks like...
No, I put the fire over by the rest of the fire.
Okay.
No, I'm looking... I've just found it.
Okay.
I had a few people message me for the videos that I was talking about, the images from Gaza that I was talking about, because they just sound so fucking unhinged, right? There's just no way that it's real. There you go.
Oh wow.
Good Lord. There's your proposal video, and then I have the other one. If I can make this work. Not that, obviously.
Motorhead. Motorhead. Read the room, people. Read the room.
Unhinged.
Yeah. All right. Hey, real quick, Erin actually emailed us this afternoon, and Erin, we'd already set this up, but It Was Gross was Erin's daughter. So Erin's watching at the moment. She emailed us today saying that her daughter had been interviewed commented on News Hub. Erin, $5 super chat. Thank you for that. So proud of my girl. The It Was Gross quota. It's like it's the It girl. The It Was Gross girl. Winston Peters made so many awful comments in his speech, including Te Pāti Māori are gaslighting the country. Yeah, I can imagine. It's been a really good show tonight. I'm sorry, I saw some people in the chat saying, are we opening up Discord tonight? Obviously, Debbie had priority, which is appropriate and what we wanted as well. So, and then we had the other stories to do, so there just wasn't time. We'll do it for you next week. Maybe we'll even bring it back a couple of times if you want. Two quick things before we go. Last reminder, last chance ever to get BHN OB gear. And I can see that looks like Marnie, Raywin, Damien, Stephanie, and some others have all picked up some merch since we've started. Come 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, the original Beardy gear, and quite simply, that's the limited edition gear that we have this year. And the reason it's original Beardy means you bought merch in the first run of merch ever. So there'll be no more OB gear. There'll be BHN gear next year, but there'll be no more OB gear. So when we get together and we hold our rallies of 1,000 people, the people with the OB gear on, you'll be like, little tip of the cap. You've been on board since day one. So the OB gear is going away forever. And also we've got the two tops going at the moment. For those with power, equality feels like oppression. And
a lot of that going around at the moment, isn't there,
yep.
Pat?
And also the #1 podcast in Swaziland t-shirt. And that's a bit of an in-joke. If you're not a regular, we got, for some reason, somehow the algorithms made us the #1 podcast in Swaziland, and so Chewy thought it was hilarious and wanted it
more than anything else.
So about 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, I will take all of those down, and then there'll be more merch next year, but there won't be anything between, and the OB gear will never come back in. So if you're interested, no dramas, no pressures, no stress, bhnshop.nz, you've got about 12 hours. And then merch again next year, but not the OB stuff and whatever goes on then. The other thing is, remember, tomorrow night we are going to do another show, but it's going to be a pre-record, so we won't actually be here. 9 o'clock it'll start, and it's a conversation with Sir Ian Taylor that I had earlier in the week, and we played some clips from. Sir Ian Taylor really came out talking about the unintended consequences for voting for National. He voted National this time around. In his 53 years of voting, he's voted National twice. This was one of the times. And he's, just so you're clear, so you're not set up for something necessarily that you're expecting, he's not saying he regrets his vote. That's not where he's coming from. He is saying, though, he's dumbfounded, my word, not his, at some of the unintended consequences. And he really drills down into the smoke-free thing going away. I think probably for him as Māori himself, and as someone who's desperately keen on education, he can see how much of a big hole that is backward. So the unintended consequences, that'll be playing out tomorrow night from 9 p.m. Anything else you want to put out there, Chewy? I got a fridge for sale.
I don't know how he I don't know how that surprised him personally.
Yeah, but this is what we talked about with that national MP last night. You know, the guy who uses his credentials of being a stay-at-home solo mum kid, and then he joins the National Party, who that is the antithesis of what they're going to help. You know, so it's this cognitive dissonance is not related to individuals around the place. It's everywhere. You know, if you're passionate about have fair tax rate and you're voting ACT, you've cognitive dissonance. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. But that happens with some people, because what they do, and we kind of have this in the conversation, it's like, well, I didn't agree with everything, but what I wanted to see, I saw more of in this group. And that's what people tend to do. And if you get to that, 51% here, 49% here, you might end up voting for someone or supporting someone that after a very short amount of time really disappoints you, because they're going to focus more on the 49% than the 51 that you actually like. Who knows? By the way, none of that's defending or explaining the conversation tomorrow night. That's more just about general when people sort of regret or have remorse over their votes, Chewy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Oh, what a good show.
Yeah, it was a great show, actually. I will be in studio most of tomorrow morning cutting up clips. I think we'll see Debbie. Debbie's got her own TikTok, a really cool TikTok, actually. Actually, Debbie's TikTok is hilarious. Often she'll get something like a statement made by Winston Peters, that'll be the starting, and then she just looks and the camera goes. And that's it. That's the whole TikTok. It's brilliant. You should check it out if you're not following already.
Devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, team. You're beautiful. Thanks for being with us this week. Look at that, Chewy. See, when we want to do it, we did like 3 stories in 17 minutes. That'll be nice. Quick cuts tomorrow. Thanks for being with us this week. It's been really good. We're really, really excited about the grassroots groundswell that's coming around us. Really want to say thank you to you guys.
Hang on. The good groundswell, not the bad one.
Yeah.
The good groundswell.
So
tractors. None of us have tractors.
Oh, I'd like a ride on at some stage.
No,
like just to cut grass.
I committed us to something tonight, Pat, and that was to buy Counter Spin's bus.
Okay.
I
don't mean a big tractor.
I assume we'll need to fumigate it or something, but
yeah,
Can
you fumigate for crazy? Is there something to? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I think you need petrol.
Be real safe over the weekends, Whānau. As I was just saying, we really are appreciating all your support. And when I mean support, I mean just eyes and ears, without anything else. Appreciating the other support as well, but even just the eyes and ears. We're really convinced if we can keep going, we've got something here for the next wee while, and I think it's needed. And if you want to know more about 2024, head to my Twitter feed and have a look at the pinned video at the top of that. Other than that, we're just really loving what we're doing, appreciating everybody being with us. I'm loving the numbers on the live streams. and loving the interaction in the chat. It's a real community. So I'm already starting to think, how am I going to be away for a few weeks over Christmas? How's it going to work? Oh, I'm not sure if I can do it. But I will.
I'm doing it by leaving my computer behind and going to a different hemisphere.
Yes, but you still got a smartphone, so we can still do it. Hey, yeah, like Debbie tonight. Very good. All right, team. Be safe. See you on Monday night from 9 p.m. Well, we'll see you tomorrow night as a pre-record, but we'll see you live again Monday night from 9 p.m. for another edition of Big Hairy News. Stay safe, everyone. See you Monday. Hooroo.